Today's show brought to you by redcon1.com. That's right. Click the link at the bottom of the podcast app in which you are listening to this on. Check them out. Use promo code T20 Quartermiss. That's right. redcon1.com.
There's nothing special about being American. None of you can define for me what an American is.
I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I am many things and many people. I am the nation. I'm 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I'm Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. I stood at Lexington and fired the shot heard round the world. I'm Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry. I'm John Paul Jones, the Green Mountain Boys, and Davy Crockett. I'm Lee.
Coming to you from the D-Tom Studios in the free state of Florida, sponsored by Maker's Mark Bourbon. This is Don't Tread on America. Alrighty, how's everybody doing out there today? It is Thursday, April 9th, 2026. I'm back. Alright, my day off. I only worked 9.5 hours today on my day off, so it's good. Anyway, a couple things, guys, real quick before we get to the show. Make sure you follow the show on social media. Don't Tread on America on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, on the TikToker, and of course, on the Twitter X Machine, D-Tom Podcast 1776. Also, follow the show on Rumble. Don't Turn America TV, guys. You'll see some crazy shit when the opening situation is going on because I don't have the mic on and I'm talking. And it looks like I'm talking and I'm not really talking. It's great. It's acting. Acting. It's pure finest form. It's fun. And you get to see the inner workings of the D-Tom studio in this pretty face. Yes. Also, you'll get me see my crippling nicotine addiction and whiskey habit, but that's fine. All right, guys, other than that, please make sure you go to the D-Tom store, get you some show merch. Guys, it's not about the money. I don't care about the money. If I could afford to, I'd give it away for free, but I can't, so I got to have something for you to buy so I can break even. A little bit of money that I do make, I give to Thomas the Tower, so please, get your t-shirt. If you're not on social media, that's fine. Go to the website, don'ttreadonamerica.com. And if you want to talk to me personally, if you have any questions, concerns, any ideas, anything you want to run by me, you can do so. Hit me up, DonQ at don'ttreadonamerica.com. And right now, we're going to crank it up a little bit of Damn Yankees. Don't Tread on America version. Brought to you by one Ted Theodore Nugent. Guys, we got a good show today because I'm a little concerned with the information that you guys are getting from shows unlike this one. And I'm talking about the mainstream media, mainstream podcast, and all the above. So please, follow along, listen to the song, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about in just a second. Let's go. What we gotta do? Don't you tread on America. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, patriots of all colors, truth seekers, and everyone sick of the mainstream media scripted fairy tales. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Tread on America, the podcast where we stomp on the lies, expose the hidden hands, and refuse to kneel to the globalist narrative. Of course, I'm your host, Don Q, coming to you live from the heart of the fight for freedom. Today's episode is a monster-filled rant of unfiltered truth on the Iran situation that the fake news wants you to swallow whole. We're diving deep into everything we've been unpacking, how the mainstream media flipped the script to paint Israel as the eternal victim while airbrushing out their role as aggressors. We're talking the so-called ceasefire that's anything but. Israel's openly admitting they're still pounding the shit out of Lebanon while Trump's 2-week pause on Iran is already cracking. And yeah, we're going full throttle on the conspiracies, every single one. False flags, AIPAC, puppet masters, Mossad black ops, government cover-ups on casualties and motives. Greater Israel land grabs, drone swaps to frame Iran, the works. Look, guys, I've been saying this. Just because something isn't confirmed by the bought and paid for press doesn't mean the government isn't burying the bodies in the desert. History screams it. Gulf of Tonkin, Iraq WMDs, Operation Northwoods, declassified plans. Governments lie, they hide, they manipulate. We're not dismissing a damn thing here. We're connecting the dots, playing the clips, reading the articles, and letting you decide. Buckle up, grab your coffee, or better yet, get you some fucking whiskey and an Alp, guys, because you're going to need it today. We're on a long one today. This is going to be the Shadows Over the Strait. Let's roll. So, you know what's wild? The exact pattern you called out. You guys called this out. Mainstream outlets like CNN, New York Times, the BBC, Fox, all of them. They lead every broadcast with Iran attacks Israel or Israeli civilians under barrage. Boom. Israel's the victim once again. But if you rewind to February 28th of 26, U.S. and Israeli strikes hammer Iranian missile sites, oil hubs, air defenses, even leadership targets. Hundreds of sorties. Then Iran fires back with ballistic missiles, hitting Haifa, central Israel. Hezbollah piles on from Lebanon. Suddenly, the headlines forget who swung first in this round. It's not new. Studies and insiders have been calling this out for years. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this clip.
Watching Western media coverage of the Iran-Israel crisis, you might be witnessing a rather upside-down, topsy-turvy, bizarro view of the world, of reality. You're not being told everything. You're being given skewed perceptions. For example, if you're watching Western media coverage, you might come away with the impression that Iran attacked Israel out of the blue and Israel is responding, when it's the other way around. We all saw on Thursday night that it was Israel that launched an illegal act of aggression against Iran. Iran is the victim here, Israel is the aggressor, but in the Western media coverage, Israel is the victim always. Some other points you may miss while watching Western media coverage: for example, Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, Israel does. Iran is a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT, Israel isn't. Iran has allowed IAEA inspectors into its country, Israel doesn't. It's a nuclear double standard that I raised with former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon a few years back on my Al Jazeera English show Head to Head, in a clip that's recently gone viral again.
How many nuclear weapons does Israel have? Because experts say it's anywhere between 80 and 400.
So what?
So what?
Yeah, so what? Has Israel ever
So do you recognize the hypocrisy of Israel having a secret illicit nuclear weapons program that it won't open up its doors to and won't talk about, and then lecturing everyone else in the region about nuclear weapons?
Absolutely not. You know why?
You talked about hypocrisy. Let me ask again. If an Iranian guest came on my show and I asked him about Iran's nuclear program, he said, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about it. Would you be okay with that? You'd be outraged.
Of course
and
I
yet
would
you
be.
sit here as a former
Of course
minister
I
of the
would be,
Israeli government saying, I don't know, never talked about nukes with anyone.
Because there was like 16 United Nations Security Council resolutions against Iran.
And there
Iran
is
was a
against Israel.
signatory
And there is
of the
against Israel as
line.
well.
About
your nuclear
issues?
program?
No.
Yes, there is. UN Resolution 487. Let me read it to you. The UN Security Council in 1981 says, calls upon Israel urgently to place its nuclear facilities under the safeguards of the IAEA. Why haven't you done that?
Because...
There you have it, the nuclear double standard. Israel violates multiple UN Security Council resolutions when it comes to its own stockpile of nuclear weapons. And yet Western media interviewers who have multiple Israelis on air all the time never really ask about this, never really ask about Israel's nukes. Why? I get why Israel wants to maintain its policy of nuclear ambiguity, of not confirming or denying that it has nukes. But why does the US media, the UK media, the Canadian media, why do they all have to go along with it?
Well, I wonder, what do you guys think about that? Let me get this going here again. A little loud. Turn down. So, you heard that. Skewed Coverage 101. Western media creates the victim-aggressor narrative while sidelining the full timeline. And Lebanon? Well, crickets in big networks, unless it's a one-off, dozens killed blip. But over 1 million Lebanese have been displaced. Ground offensive since mid-March, pushing to the Litani River. Buffer zone occupation, villages depopulated. Israel's own officials call it sustained ops with extra divisions. But U.S. media barely a whisper to the Iran missile alerts. Do I have this one? Yes. All right. Another clip. We're clipping you out here today. Shit. I'll figure this fucking computer out one of these days, guys. Hang tight.
So today I would like to talk about the war, but not the one you think, in Iran. I want to talk about a conflict that is very closely related to it, and one that Americans shouldn't ignore. I mean, of course, the Israeli invasion of Lebanon. Make no mistake, that is an invasion, despite the reluctance of a lot of US media outlets to use that term. An honourable exception on the terminology is the Associated Press. Explaining its decision to call events as they are, the AP noted that Israel has, quote, moved thousands of troops across the border into Lebanon. Those troops are in a region that Israel had previously occupied for 18 years, 18, after an invasion during the Lebanese Civil War. The toll this time is already huge. Roughly 1,500 people have been killed in Lebanon, more than 4,000 have been wounded, and Reuters, citing Lebanese health authorities, reports that among the dead are 130 children and 101 women. An enormous number of people, more than 1 million, have fled their homes. And yes, I know, it's not American soldiers or bombers doing it, but make no mistake, Donald Trump's rash and wrong decision to finally answer Benjamin Netanyahu's decades-long call for an attack on Iran, that has provided cover and apparent impunity for the Israelis. I was at a White House press briefing almost 2 weeks ago in which, unusually, the question of Lebanon was raised. Credit to Karen Travers of ABC News for asking the question to Caroline Levitt. Here's the exchange.
Hello to Karen.
Two questions on Lebanon, if I can. Is the U.S. providing support at this point for Israel's ongoing offensive in Lebanon? And is the president concerned that right now there are more than 1 million people who've been displaced and potentially could be for a significant amount of time?
That's not something I'm in a position to comment on for the first question. To the second question, of course, that's something that would concern the president. I think that's why he's again quickly moving to eliminate the threat of the Iranian regime in the Middle East, including weakening their proxies like Hezbollah, who have terrorized Lebanon for far too long. And I know that the president wants to see this, again, move as quickly as possible as we can over the course of the next couple of weeks here.
Almost every time voices like mine are raised in criticism of Israeli actions in Lebanon, the call always comes back, but Hezbollah. Yes, indeed, Hezbollah, a group that does fire rockets into Israel. Also, a group that was catalyzed into existence by a previous Israeli invasion of Lebanon in 1982, something that is apparently considered impolite to mention. But look, my point isn't to defend Hezbollah. I'm no fan of armed parties of God, here or anywhere. My point is that the militant group is always raised to shift culpability away from the Israelis, and that's disingenuous. 1 year after a November 2024 supposed ceasefire in southern Lebanon, the United Nations peacekeeping body there evaluated where things stood. It noted that the IDF was, quote, still present in 5 locations inside Lebanese territory. It also found, in relation to the de facto border known as the Blue Line, quote, almost 7,800 air violations, more than 1,000 trajectories crossing the Blue Line, with almost all of them originating from the Israeli side, over 100 air attacks, and over 2,500 IDF activities north of the Blue Line. Some ceasefire, that is. Thankfully, parts of the media outside the US are paying attention. Here's Alex Crawford of Britain's Sky News reporting on the number of Lebanese medics who have been killed.
A cortege of ambulances winds its way through the war zone that is South Lebanon. It's a mark of respect for 2 young paramedics killed in Israeli strikes whilst trying to help others. The ambulances pick their way through the devastation that's now scarring much of the country's south.
More than 50 medics have reportedly been killed so far. We've seen this kind of thing before, in the brutal assault on Gaza that killed tens of thousands of people and left Mr. Netanyahu wanted for war crimes.
So this is a very interesting situation. Now, just like he said, in war, okay, you ever wonder why you see medics of whatever country wearing white with red? Okay, that signifies that they're for medical situations. They are supposed to be untouched. But yet, 15 dead in Lebanon, hundreds dead in Gaza. But yet, we in America, the media, is silent. Why? The blackout. Simple. It complicates the brave little Israel defending itself story. Ground invasion of sovereign territory doesn't fit the victim's script. But we're not letting it slide here, guys. First commercial, we'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm excited about this one because, you know, this is probably one of my 2 favorite most sponsors that we have here. Of course, one is Maker's Mark, right? We got my Maker's Mark ambassador glass there, right there, because we are an ambassador glass and our ambassador of Maker's Mark bourbon. And I'm going to side note here off of the Alp situation here for just a second. When we're talking about Maker's Mark, guys, my barrel is going to be ready here probably within the next 6 years now. Should be within another year or so. So hopefully we're still doing the show. Probably will be. And I'm going to have information on how you can get a bottle of Don't Tread on America Maker's Mark bourbon. Guys, so please stay tuned for that one. I don't know exactly the logistics and how we're going to work this out, but I'm working a deal out right now with a local retailer here where I live in Central Florida, and we'll figure it out from there. This guy, they do shipping, so we're hoping that we buy the barrel, we market this, and we sell it. It's not going to be a lot. Probably only going to be 100, 125 bottles. Of course, maybe 120 after I take my share. But nonetheless, stay tuned for that one, guys. But let's talk about Alp nicotine pouches, guys. Are you tired of this same old crap? Switch to clean, discreet nicotine that hits differently. Go to alppouch.com/DTOM. Get you 20% off your first order. Like I said, guys, they have the 12s now. So if you're like, I'm not really a 9 guy, I need 12s. They have them. Hopefully, they'll be coming out with 15 soon, guys. We'll be right back in a minute. Hang tight. So, now to your killer question. How the hell is there a ceasefire when Israel's still operating? Trump announced just the other day on April 7th a 2-week pause on major U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran if they reopen Hormuz and chill on the attacks. Iran says yes. Talks in Islamabad, but Netanyahu's office immediately clarifies this does not include Lebanon. U.S. backs them and the strikes continue. Iranian missiles still flying post-announcements. Is this a tactical breather on one front, but not peace? So I'm going to read this excerpt from The Guardian. Israel says ceasefire does not include Lebanon. Netanyahu supports the Iran-specific pause, but ops continue. So you see, they're still carved out from day to day. This isn't de-escalation, it's managed escalation. While the real game, Lebanon buffer and Hezbollah dismantling, rolls on. So, of course, we like to dive into conspiracies here, right? So the conspiracy angle on this is total plausibility. The whole ceasefire is theater to buy time, calm the oil markets, and let Israel finish the Lebanon job out of the spotlight. Governments hide these carve-outs all the time. History shows partial truces are just pauses for the next phase. So that's something to think about while we do our next commercial break, guys. So please, hang tight. I'll be right back in just a second. All right, guys, mid-fuel stoppage. Stop the record. We're not going to stop the record, guys. NordVPN, the only VPN that actually keeps your data from big tech, spies, and governments. Now, if I'd have waited a second, this shit would have stopped right on point, right? Anyway, big tech spies and government snoops browse, stream, podcast without tracking. Use code DTOM for a massive discount plus extra months free, guys. That's NordVPN, NordVPN.com, promo code DTOM. Don't tread without protection. We'll be right back. I guess that'd be good for condoms too, right? We could do a condom commercial. What do you think? We can work on that? Yeah. What are we, like Trojan horse? Or, yeah, okay. All right, guys, we'll be right back in just a second. It's funny. I'm talking about condoms, right? And now we're going to get into the meat of the subject, right? Meat, Trojan, condoms? No? We're not cherry picking confirmed facts. We're laying out every theory because unconfirmed, like I said, guys, doesn't mean untrue. Governments have hidden worse. So, first, media as a propaganda arm. Now, this isn't new. This is obviously something that's been going on since the invention of television news. Reports, probably been going on since before then when they have radio news. But anyway, reports screen pro-Israel bias. New York Times, BBC, others framing Israel as a hero victim while downplaying strikes on Iran first. Internal BBC memos leaked showing rushed anti-Israel claims without checks. Alternative voices call it systematic. So I'm going to play this. This is shadows of deception, okay? Israeli-Iran conflict, false flags. If I can push the right button, guys, I'd be doing fucking amazing here. Shit, where's it at? Where you at? Oh, wait. Oh, did I delete it? No, it's on here. Where's it at? Oh, there it is. Guys, I'm new here. I just started. Let me see if I can get it to the point. I think it's right about there. Let's start with this.
As of 9th of March 2026, in the second week of hostilities, the conflict encompasses persistent Israeli and American bombardment of Iranian military, nuclear, and infrastructure targets, Iranian missile and drone counterstrikes against Israel and U.S. regional assets, and spillover effects extending to Gulf Arab states, Cyprus, and proximity to Turkish territory. Global oil prices have exceeded $100 per barrel, maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz remains tense, and the risk of wider regional entanglement continues to loom. Read, U.S. Embassy in Baghdad says leaving Iraq best option for Americans. Iranian authorities, including foreign ministry officials and IRGC representatives, have issued repeated warnings that Israel, possibly assisted by the United States, may orchestrate attacks on energy infrastructure or other sensitive sites in Gulf Cooperation Council countries, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Oman, Qatar, and subsequently attribute them to Iran. Tehran contends that such incidents would cast Iran as a broad regional threat, obliging Gulf states to respond militarily and compelling Iran to dilute its forces across additional fronts rather than focusing them against Israel and U.S. positions. Iranian statements have consistently maintained that their operations are confined to military objectives linked to Israel or the United States, with no strategic intent to target Arab states. Certain reports disseminated through Iranian and aligned media have asserted that specific drone strikes on Saudi Aramco installations or Omani infrastructure were not Iranian in origin but instead Mossad operations conducted via covert networks within Iran or local intermediaries. These claims posit an intent to portray Iran as indiscriminate and thereby expand the war's scope. Saudi Arabia has relayed diplomatic cautions through indirect channels that any verified assault on its territory or energy assets would provoke a commensurate reply. Independent verification of these assertions remains constrained, a situation typical of the informational opacity that prevails during active conflict. A noteworthy event took place on 1st-2nd of March 2026, when a Shahed-type drone impacted RAF Akrotiri, a strategically significant British airbase in Cyprus that supports Western operations across the Middle East, including U.S. surveillance flights. The strike produced limited damage to a hangar and runway, with no casualties, though partial evacuations were enacted. British and Cypriot authorities attributed the drone to Hezbollah operating from Lebanon, noting design characteristics consistent with Iranian models. Subsequent attempted incursions were intercepted. Iran disavowed direct responsibility. Although the incident extended the conflict's reach into Europe, some observers speculated that it might constitute an effort to provoke deeper British or NATO engagement. Empirical evidence supporting that interpretation has not surfaced. In U.S. public commentary, Tucker Carlson asserted in early March that Mossad personnel had been apprehended in Saudi Arabia and Qatar while allegedly preparing bombings intended to be ascribed to Iran. The allegation suggested Israel might be prepared to compromise tacit Gulf partners in order to intensify.
So I'm not going to keep playing that. You guys get the idea. So who's lying? Who's telling the truth? Now, we are to believe that Iran is lying. Maybe they are. But my point is this. Iran accuses Israel, the U.S., of 9/11 style plots on U.S. soil to frame Tehran and drag America deeper. Copy drones hitting Gulf sites blamed on Iran. Mossad recruiting Iranian dissidents for eternal sabotage. ProPublica exposed similar ops. Reverse engineered Shahed drones for deniability. So, I think I have it right here. So Israel has been trading strikes with Hezbollah on Lebanese political party and armed group ever since October. So far, the strikes have killed at least 542 people in Lebanon, including 114 civilians, and at least 22 soldiers and 25 civilians in northern Israel and Israel-occupied territory. But one recent back and forth has heightened the tension at the border between the two countries, provoking fears that the border regional war could be the horizon, even as Israel continues its genocidal campaign in Gaza. The latest escalation began after a tragic attack on the village of Mahadal Shams in July, located in Syria's Golden Heights, which is under Israeli occupation. The population of Mahadal Shams is predominantly Arab Druze, an ethnic and religious community that is spread out across the region. Israel blamed Hezbollah for the attack on Mahadal Shams, saying it was an Iranian rocket, and Hezbollah is the only terror organization that has those in its arsenal. While acknowledging a series of rocket attacks on Israeli positions in Golan that day, Hezbollah said it categorically denies it was responsible for the tragedy. Once again, who do we believe? Even declassified history backs the playbook. Is this a situation? Let me paint a picture for you. Let's just take the Iran government and the Hezbollah proxies at their word. I'm not saying they're telling the truth. Just listen. What if that is the case? What if the purpose for Iran and Hezbollah attacks, or I shouldn't even say attacks, but retaliation for the being attacked first, is on military sites, whether it be U.S. military sites or Israeli military sites, because of what Israel's doing? Then if capital I, capital F, Israel is intercepting drones or whatever, reverse engineering them so they can control them, and then striking Saudi targets, Qatar, UAE, Cyprus, these things that you heard in the article, to pull European nations into the war on Israel's side. Now, why would they do that? Well, because that's what Israel does. They cause terror attacks in other countries, including right here in the United States of America, blame it on whomever the boogeyman is right now, to garner support, whether it be financial, militarily, or whatever the case may be, all the above. And that's what Israel does. Israel, I've said this time and time again, and don't construe my thoughts as anti-Semitic things. This has nothing to do with the Jewish religion or the Jewish people. I've been saying this for 2 years now. My thoughts on this have nothing to do with any religion, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, whatever. This is about governments that are doing this. This isn't religion. They're using religion to put fuel on the fire, so to speak. And that's not what this is about. Now, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it is when it comes to the Israeli government, because they keep using the biblical, this is God's plan for the greater Israel project type thing. But in essence, that's not what the rest of the world sees. And you guys at home watching CNN or Fox, and it's all of them. I'm not picking on CNN or CNBC or whatever else. It's every single one of them. Fox is, in this case, Fox is probably worse than the others when it comes to pushing the Israeli narrative and the victimhood. And if you could just open your eyes to the fact that maybe, just maybe, Israel's full of fucking shit, you could see that. I'm not sitting here claiming that Iran's the good guy. I'm not saying that. There's obviously a history with Iran and the leaders that have run that country for the last however many years, I guess since the 70s, where we've had issues with them. But like I told you on the last show, this goes back even to the Russia situation. Like back in the 40s, during World War II, we were allies with Russia. It wasn't until after World War II where they were our Cold War enemies. And I said before, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing. But in the grand scheme of things, Russia was doing just back then with Stalin, they were doing just as evil things to their own people in Russia that Hitler was doing to his people in Germany. That's fact. You can look it up. But we sided with Russia in that situation. Why? Well, because Russia was being threatened also by Germany. That's not necessarily why, but the biggest problem here was Germany and what they were doing to the Jewish people. But in hindsight, or realistically, Stalin was doing the same thing to the people in Russia, and we gave two shits about that. We used Russia to help us stop Germany, and the rest is quote-unquote history, as they say. And then we became enemies with Russia, and then they're the bad guy. And then we got propagandized in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s on how Russia was such an evil empire. Now, I'm not saying that Russia is a great country, but you know, if there's a Russian podcaster right now or Iranian podcaster right now, they're saying the exact same thing about the United States of America. When in essence, the United States, Iran, Russia, the countries in the European Union, Saudi, everyone around, We're the victims of what Israel is doing to the world. AIPAC and the lobby, decades pushing hardline Iran policies, billions in influence, super PAC money flipping primaries. Critics say they fueled this war by narrowing diplomacy.
The pro-Israel group, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, is the powerhouse on Capitol Hill. It has the ability to get people elected. It can also harm candidates' chances of getting elected. How do you compete with a group like AIPAC?
Well, you know, I was in a meeting of the House Foreign Affairs Committee last week, and one of AIPAC's lobbyists came in and sat at the other end of the row, and he looked at me and sort of scowled, and I looked back at him, and I smiled. And do you know why I smiled? It's because, first of all, I know that we are on the side of justice, but it's also because I know that he has everything to lose and we have everything to gain, that AIPAC is on a losing track. We see members of Congress increasingly standing up and saying they will no longer accept funding from AIPAC. AIPAC spent over $100 million in the last election cycle. You don't need to do that when you're winning. They are fighting a defensive battle, and it is one that we can see, looking at the generational change that is coming, they are going to lose. The only question is how long it is going to take, both in terms of time and in terms of Palestinian lives.
So, I mean, wish there was a way for me to be quicker on that. Just can't do it. Coincidence that strikes hit right after lobbying pushes, or pattern. Lebanon specifically. Invasion language avoided in the U.S. media called it ops or raids. Of course, we have the Greater Israel theories. The buffer to the Litani sounds like a land grab to some. It definitely sounds like one to me. Disinfo campaigns on both sides. Journalists are being targeted. Classified leaks probed by the FBI on strike plans. Casualties hidden, civilian trolls spun. Oil, Straits of Hormuz, deep state motives. Trump ties ceasefire to reopening shipping. Strikes on Iranian oil while markets spike. And there's the hidden alliances. Russia feeding Iran intel per reports. Ukraine embassy is a Mossad safe house, claims in Beirut. Netanyahu deep fakes, stand down echoes from October 7th, all of it. None dismissed. Because if past is prolonged, they're hiding the full picture, casualties, motives, and the next false flag. Guys, I say this because I know you guys that are listening to the show, you're not morons, you're not idiots. You're here for a reason. I'm just a dude with a full-time job and a part-time podcast. Bringing it back. And I see this stuff, and I watch Fox News. And it cringes me. It does. I just do it because I want to hear what they're saying. Then I try to debunk the things they're saying. I don't know how you guys feel about the moon and all this stuff, but I'm thinking about doing a little quick show on that situation and my thoughts on this. If you are a longtime listener of this show, you probably know my thoughts on the moon landing back in '69. If you don't, if you're new here, look it up. If you got 3 hours to listen to a long-ass show, me and Chris did a couple years back, it's pretty good. Anyway, my point here is we are constantly propagandized by our media. And what makes it worse is about 5 years ago, when podcasting kind of was in its infancy. Now it's in its infancy. We looked at podcasters as truth tellers, because for the most part, outside of your few main guys, outside of like Dan Bongino and Joe Rogan and like Glenn Beck and these guys that we knew their names. But the people that did and do podcasts like me, just regular guys that work a 40, 50, 60 hour a week job have their wives and their house and their kids, and they're hanging out and they're doing their things. And the reason these things popped off like this, these podcasts from people like me and those guys, is because of the bullshit. And early in its infancy, you had a lot of truth tellers. Well, then some of those individuals got big. They got a good following, and then they started getting money. And they got true money. What I mean by that is they're on YouTube or whatever, their podcast is on whatever platform, and they're seeing, massive downloads, so they're seeing some money. They're not getting, I can live off this money, but they're getting money to maybe pay off some bills, maybe buy a nicer car, whatever the case may be. I don't care. Then influencers, and by that I mean mainstream media sources, mainstream media sponsors, lost the word there for a second, started dumping money into these shows. I'm talking tons of money. Then lobbying groups started dumping tons of money into these podcasts, whether it was AIPAC or other different government NGO type situations, because here's another arm of propaganda that we can push. It's not, oh, I don't listen to CNN or Fox or MSNBC or CNBC or whoever, NBC or DBC or ABC or whatever. I don't listen to that. I listen to podcasts. I get my news from podcasts. And these individuals realize that. They said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and dump money into these podcasts, and we're going to make these people rich. Maybe not millionaires or whatever, but we're going to make them be able to not have to work a real job, and they can sit behind a microphone and say their thing. Like, who in the hell was Ben Shapiro 10 years ago? Seriously. Right? He was just a dude. Started a podcast. He obviously probably had his thoughts on Israel. I don't think much of that has changed. And he garnered a following, and now he's a arm of the Israeli government. Mark Levin, another one. Difference there is, not only does he have a radio show, but he's on Fox on the weekends. And it's gotten worse over the past, 2 years with those two guys in particularly. But then, like, you even look at someone like Dan Bongino, who I used to love I listened to his show every single day up until the time when he left to go to the FBI. And then I realized, this guy's full of shit. He's been full of shit for however many years I've been listening to his podcast. He's a fucking liar. And my suspicions were confirmed when he came back and started doing his podcast, and he's the way he is. If you don't listen to a show, I don't listen to a show anymore, but I see clips on Facebook. And the only reason I still follow him on Facebook is for those clips, because I want to hear the bullshit that he's saying. And he is another arm of a political faction that's propagandizing his following. Why? Because I've got 1 million listeners, or however many, 2, 3, I don't know, however many millions of the millions of the Dan Bongino fans out there listening to the bullshit that he spews. And those individuals, I was going to say you guys, because maybe you don't listen to him anymore. I don't know. So I'm going to say those people that do listen to these individuals, lap it up. And then if by some chance or another they stumble upon a show like this, they're like, this guy is racist, he's anti-Semitic, he hates Jews, he hates blacks, he hates everybody, he's a redneck from Florida, he doesn't know shit, blah, 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 blah. Okay, maybe you're right. But I can tell you that 100% you're wrong. I might not have that fancy Harvard tongue. I might not be educated with my fucking degrees hanging on the wall, but I've got degrees in other things. Okay? And I'm a real person who has seen real things. And I'm telling you right now, the things that we're hearing in news media is a fucking lie. All of it. Outside of your basic news, so-and-so was murdered. So-and-so, there was a robbery here. I guess probably the most truthful, if you want to use that term in media, news you get anymore is your local media. when they're focusing on local situations. But when it comes to world, national, or world news, most of your local news media is a arm of the national media. You know, your local ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox stations might be local in your area, and you see Tampa news or Orlando news, or you might catch some Central Florida news in there, and they talk about the, you know, things that are happening in your neighborhood type thing. But when they talk about national and world news, it's the national branch that's talking. So they're lying. I encourage you guys to listen to this show, but I know I'm only on here maybe twice, if you're lucky, 3 times a week, mainly because I'm just a dude that's out there working every day. And I'm not dismissing anything you guys do. I'm by all means not building houses, laying bricks, roofing houses. I'm not doing anything like that, but I do put in a solid 60 plus hours a week at work. So if I'm able to crack this mic open twice a week, if I could do it 5 days a week, I would. Trust me. I can't. But my point being is this. Look at your alternative media. If you guys are rabid podcast listeners, you don't listen to mainstream media, that's fine. That's great. But maybe you don't listen to your, what I'm going to call your mainstream podcasters. Okay? These people that have, 10 sponsors a day, and they're constantly interrupted by commercials, and it's like there's something there, and I just can't put my finger on it. And I feel like these individuals aren't any better than the people you see on TV, whatever outlet you watch, doesn't matter. Because when it comes down to it, these guys are controlled by money, period. I'm not controlled by money because my money doesn't come from this show. I make just enough to pay for my Lamborghini. That's it. No, I'm joking. I wish. I make just enough, basically, to pay for this show, to have my website, to pay for this show to be put out, because it costs money. Not like it's tens of thousands of dollars. It's literally a couple $100 a month. So it's a hobby. I use that. What little bit of money I do get goes to this. So I'm not using my money per se, but the platform costs money. The website costs money. The email costs money. The DTOM store costs money. Okay, it does. But like I said, maybe not even $200 a month. So if I make $200 a month and I'm able to pay those bills, cool, fine. But that's why I encourage you guys to email me. If you have anything that you want to talk, anything you think I'm missing. I'm not perfect. I'm working. I'm trying to do this while I'm working and get shit together. And email me. DonQ at Don't Turn America, guys. It doesn't cost. Let's not charge you to fucking email me. Okay? It's free. If you're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, True Social, Ticker Talker, Don't Turn America. And I'm going to tell you right now, your best bets is on Facebook, Don't Turn America. Okay? If you're on TikTok, I just do drink videos there, but you can message me through that. Instagram. Those are the things I check. Okay? The best way to get a hold of me is the email, because I check my email every day, twice a day actually. And I'm always on Twitter. Don't Turn America Podcast. I'm sorry. DTOM Podcast 1776. Simple. I don't ask you guys for any money. I'm not asking you to subscribe. I don't do Patreons. I don't do any of that bullshit. Because I know money's tight. I know my money's tight. I know your money's tight. You guys have bills. You have car payments, house payments. We all have that stuff. I'm not asking you for extra money. I encourage you to go to the DTOM shirt store and get you a t-shirt, get you a license plate frame or whiskey glass, whatever. But you know what? If you do, great. Thanks. You're pushing the show narrative. That's all I care. It's not about the money. Okay? It's about getting the word out. So we've read the articles. We've played the clips from Al Jazeera, independent voices, even regime media, because the other side leaks truth too. Listeners, cross-check everything. But never trust the machine. We've covered it all, guys. The media flip, Lebanon blackout, fake ceasefires. Let me get my other music going here. I forgot. I'm like rambling on like a fucking idiot. Start. Every conspiracy, from false flags to lobby control to government blackouts. The cycle's real. Escalation begets escalation. There's no clean hands in this, but the narrative is rigged. Guys, question everything. Support independent voices like this show, other podcasts. Subscribe, share this episode. It's long because the truth is complicated, guys. Like I said, whatever podcast app you're listening to this on, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, iHeart, Pandora, whoever else. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Guys, follow the show. It's free. Just push the button, follow the show. That way you get updates. Hit the comments, guys. What conspiracy hits hardest for you? What do you like? What do you like that we've talked about? Are you on board with this? If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, guys, leave me a comment, leave me a review, preferably a 5-star rating. Share this with your friends, and let's just keep this movement going, guys. There's no big sponsors here. It's really not. I have a few, nothing major. But that's all I have for you guys today. April 9th, 2026. Guys, stay vigilant. Don't tread on America. God bless. You guys have a great day. We'll talk again later. See ya.